Hey everyone, have you ever noticed that sometimes when you style a box, it suddenly grows bigger in size and messes up your layout? Do you know the answer to it? Why that happens? Don't worry if you don't, because in today's video, we will break it down why that happens and how to fix it easily with the help of box model in CSS. And also let me tell you that this is the first video of our CSS series. In this series, we will be covering all topics of CSS which are asked in the interviews. So this is the first video of this series where we will be covering box model in detail. So without wasting any time, let's get started. So guys, I have opened my VS Code. I have created a basic HTML template here and I have also created a CSS file which is blank for now. So talking about box model, what is box model? Every HTML element that you create, whether it's a p tag, paragraph tag, whether it's a span tag, whether it's your div tag, whether it's your form tag, any of the element that you create in your HTML will be considered as a box in your CSS. So to give that example, let me create two boxes here, basically two div elements here. So what I will do is I will create one div with class as box1 and I will create a second div with the class as box2. So these are my two boxes that I've created. Let me also give some basic styling just to show it on the web page. So box 1 and box 2 both will have 200 pixel width and 200 pixels height, and box 1 will have a background color of blue and box 2 will have a background color of red. Right, so these are my two boxes, both of 200 pixel width and height of 200 pixels. So as I told you that each element is considered as a box in CSS, since I've created these two divs, let us see how it is considered as a box, right? So let me open my dev tools. I'm doing a right click, inspect, right? So if you see, if I choose this select option and select this div one, right? So if I select this particular div, I go to the elements tab and you will have a computed tab here, right? So if you open this computed tab, what you will see here is you will see a diagram of the box model for every element. So now if you see, I have selected the box one here. So here you can see there are four elements here inside a box model. So what are these four elements? Let's see. First one is where it is 200 into 200 is written. This is the content, right? This is the width and height of the content. So the 200 pixel into 200 pixels that we have applied is getting applied to this content, right? So this is taking, like, the content will take the width of 200 pixels and the height of 200 pixels, right? So this is the content as of now. Now this content is surrounded by this padding, right? This padding. So what is this padding? Padding is the spacing that you want to give inside your element that will wrap around your content. So if you want to give some spacing around your content but inside the element only, so this will be the padding. So that spacing will be known as the padding. Now what is border? Border wraps around both your content and padding, and you can give some border out there for styling purposes. And what is margin? Margin is the spacing that you give outside of the element. Now, why do you want some spacing outside of the element? So if you see, there are two boxes we have, right? Blue box and the red box here. So if I want to give some spacing between both of them, so I can apply margin here, or I can use margin here, right? So let me show you with some examples how we can use these properties. So if I have this box one, right, I will give spacing inside this box only. I will give 20 pixels spacing from all the four sides, right? 20 pixels spacing from all the four sides. So now what you will see here is, you can see the content is 200 into 200 pixels, and the padding that it is taking is 20 pixels from all the four sides. So the actual width and the height becomes, since it's 200 pixels, 20 pixels from left, 20 pixels from right, so the width becomes 240 pixels, and then height is also 200 pixels, so 20 pixels from top, 20 pixels from bottom, so it totally becomes 240 pixels height also. So both height and width becomes 240 pixels. So for styling purposes, let's say you want to give a border also. So let me give a border 10 pixel solid black, right? So this border is basically applied as a 10 pixel. So if you see it here now, border is also taking a separate width and a height, right? You see 10 pixels border from all the four sides. So now the total height of the box becomes 200 pixels, 20 pixels from left side and right side padding. So this is 240, and then 10 pixels from left and right side border 260. So 260 becomes the width and 260 becomes the height if we include all of these parameters, right? And then if you see, if I want to give a spacing between the red box and blue box, what I will give is, I will give some margin. Let's say I want to give some margin 20 pixels only from the bottom. So I can give something like this also, a margin bottom 20 pixels. So this will be the spacing that will be given from outside of your container. So you see this 20 pixels is only getting taken from the bottom side only, but not these three sides, because I have only given it to the bottom, right? But also if you see, this 20 pixel is not getting taken from this blue box. This 20 pixel is getting taken as a white space, as a separate space. So this is the space that will be taken from outside of the container or outside of the element, and not from the inside of the element always. To be precise, you wanted the box to be 200 pixels of width and the height to be 200 pixels of height. But the box is now 260 by 260, right? Including all padding, border and everything. But general, like talking about in general scenario, what do you want is, if you're giving the width as 200 pixels, you may assume that this 200 pixel you are giving as a total width and height, right? You want that the box sizing should be 200 pixel only as the width and height, and this padding and border should be taken from inside only. So for that we have a separate property. So let me show you that property, how it works. There is a property box sizing, okay? Box sizing. So this can take two values. One is the content box. So content box doesn't matter if you give or not give, because this is a default value. If you don't give it, then also it will take content box only. So if I give content box, you see there is no difference inside the sizing. Still the blue box is bigger than the red box, but it should not happen, because you have given 200 pixel to red box and 200 pixel to blue box. So why is it greater than the red box? You don't want that. You want that padding and border should be taken from the this sizing only, and it should not taken as an extra space, right? So what if you don't want that? So to do that, what I will do is there is another value that you can give. So instead of giving box sizing content box, if you give box sizing border box, now you see now you see that both the blue box and both the red box is of the same sizing now. The width is also 200 pixels. The height is also 200 pixels for both of them. So now what is the change that is being what is the change that is being done here in the diagram? Let's observe the diagram now carefully. So if you observe the diagram carefully, earlier the width and height that we were giving was getting applied to this content, right? Was getting applied to this content. So earlier when we were giving 200 into 200, the content was 200 into 200, and this padding and border was getting included as an extra space. That's why the width and height was becoming 260, right? But now if you give the box sizing property as border box, what is happening here is that the content is getting shrinked according to the spacing that is applied to border and padding. So what does that mean is there? So now when you give the box sizing as border box, what is happening here is that the padding and border will include this width and height. That particularly means that your content will not take 200 into 200, but the box that includes both the border, padding, and your content. So which the box, the outer layer that includes all these three parts, content, padding, and border, that frame or that part will take the width of 200 pixels or the height of 200 pixels. So now what is happening here is, since it has to divide the 200 pixels to it and include border and padding inside it, so what it did automatically is that it made the content to 140 into 140. Since if you consider 140 is the content now, 20 pixels from left, 20 pixels from right, 180, 20 pixels, 10 pixels border from left side, 10 pixels border from right side. So it totally becomes 200 pixels as this outer layer. So if you give the box sizing as border box, that particularly means that this frame, that this width and height, this sizing will include the border and padding inside it. But if you don't give it, or give it the default value as the content box, let me change it again to the content box, or so if you see, now the content is again taking 200 into 200, and the padding and the border is not included in that frame or in that sizing. It is getting added as an extra space. So this is the difference between box sizing content box and box sizing border box. And also you must have seen guys, that if I do this thing, you must have seen that people are using this thing at the top of the CSS files, box sizing border box. So what this star means is that this star particularly means that this will get applied, this style will get applied to all the elements in the HTML. So if you are creating any of the HTML to this linked file, So each of these elements will have the box sizing as border box, because generally what you want is that if you are giving the width as 200 pixels and height as 200 pixels, you want that box to take that width only, including padding and border, right? So now you know why it is given like that, that since you have to give it box sizing box sizing border box to all the elements separately, so instead of doing that you can apply a global styling which gets applied to every element, that box sizing should be border box. So here you are giving instructions to CSS that hey, that whichever box or whichever element that you are creating should take the box sizing and border box, which particularly means that the sizing that I am giving to it should include the border and padding inside it. So that's why this thing is used, right? So this is also clear to us now. And let me also tell you one point here, that border box is for this layer only. So which particularly means that padding and border will be included in this sizing. But if you talk about margin, margin will always be taken from outside of the container or outside of that box or outside of that element. Margin will never be taken from inside of the element. So if you see box sizing border box is applied to all the elements, right? Box sizing in border box is applied, but margin is still getting added as an white space outside the element. Now, since I used global styling as box sizing border box, so if I give the border as 10 pixels solid blue to this box also, so to this red box also, then also red box is also not increasing its sizing, because this styles that I have applied, the box sizing border box is getting applied to all the elements getting created in the HTML. So this is a global styling that I have already applied on the top of the file. So this will be included for all the elements that are getting created in the HTML. So I don't have to give separately this property to each one of the element. So that is the purpose of applying this star mark or applying the styling like this globally. Right now the box 2 is also taking this box sizing border box as it is applied globally. If I also give padding to it, 20 pixels from all the sides. So you see the size is not increasing. The padding is getting added. If you see, the padding is getting added. You see the padding 20 pixel is getting added. The border is also getting added, but the size does not get increased. So this was it for today's video. To summarize it, we have learned what is box model. We have learned the box sizing property in CSS, and the whole topic is covered now. If you liked the video, please do hit the like button and hit the subscribe button, and stay tuned for the upcoming CSS series videos. So I will meet you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.